Wow. StreamYard coming on right on time?
No.
What's going on here? I don't know what's going on here.
It's a philosophical construct and an illusion.
All I know is I'm Brent Leary.
I'm Paul Greenberg. I don't want to say that I'm sure of it, but I think I am.
I'll vouch for you.
Thank you.
We are the CRM Playaz, and I know it's not Thursday, and I think I just heard one of our guests come back to us, which is great. It's not Thursday, it's Friday. It's Friday afternoon. Thursday, yesterday was great because it was day one of CRM. What is CRM in 2026? Guess what today is?
Friday, you said it.
Okay, it's going to be one of them shows. It is day two. And we have as good a panel today, two panels today, as we did yesterday. So it kind of evens out, right?
I guess.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know how to.
We're off to a great start here.
Yeah, what works to evenness here?
Evenly great.
Okay, yes, it works out.
Matter of fact, you don't take my word for it. Take Shashi's word. He says this is going to be an awesome show,
and he's right.
He is right. He usually is. You know?
Always right.
And look who agrees with Shashi. Sarita Kincaid.
And she's always right. Okay.
No, not always. She's a Seahawks.
Oh, okay. Well, I get it. I'm
gotta digress.
I'm a Giants fan. I really have nothing to say about it.
And look, we even hear from, I think it's both of our new friends because she was a star in her own right. Yes,
rock star. This one yesterday. Holy.
Although she got a little excited with the Friday, and it's unless it's Friday. I guess that's what she means. Friday.
Friday. Right? No, this one does not make mistakes. I've learned that from watching her behavior yesterday. How she worked, man. She's good.
So you know her inside and out since yesterday. Huh?
Yeah, we do. We made friends on LinkedIn.
That's great. Yeah, I did too. She's great.
Yeah, she really is.
All right, so we better kind of move forward because we got, I want to say like 5.5 people because we're not quite with the sixth person just yet, but I am keeping an eye out just in case. All right, so once again, day two, and I want to pull up one slide. I'll leave some of the other housekeeping stuff.
You got it.
I got it right, man. I'm on a roll.
Yeah, actually, I haven't messed that one up for like 45 days.
Yeah, just now you jinxed me. All right, so we're getting ready to do our second vendor panel of this. What is CRM in 2026? Yesterday we had 6 other vendors. Now we got these vendors with these executives. Look at them; they're basically all smiling too. I just
Oh, this is a great group.
Well, look, why don't you briefly?
Yeah. I'm just going to say their names and I guess their companies, and then we'll let them say a moment briefly right before we start in a little bit about themselves. So John Bruno, I'm going to go left to right here. John Bruno from Pros, star, known him since Forrester. Maksim Ovsyannikov, who I haven't met till today, but already and you'll see why when we start. Shalini, Mitha, who I've known for 15 years, even though she literally looks like she's 20, and she is one of the brightest people I've ever met and gets it done. She gets stuff done. David Singer, aka or Dave, obviously, but really
Captain America.
His actual identity is Captain America, and we know that, and he has proof. By the way,
it's right behind him.
That's right.
You'll see it. You'll see it. Yes.
We have Vijay Sundaram from Zoho. Oh, and Dave Singer from Verint. Shalini Mitha from Netomi. Maksim Ovsyannikov from SugarCRM, and John Bruno from Pros, so I can at least identify the company. Vijay, the only thing I will say about him is this is a guy, when you walk at a conference at 8 a.m., you walk toward the conference, Vijay's already been there for an hour talking with people and smiling and making and providing real input to those folks. And you're just waking up and trying to drink coffee already. And then finally, Tara DeZao, who not only is from Pega, but is the coffee expert in the world and is a brilliant thinker too, as you'll find out.
You're leaving out the best part, though. She's a new Rams fan. I know she's going to join me.
I had to let you say that. I can't say that one.
I gotta say that.
I had to let you say that. This is a crew, man. I love this crew. I do.
I like the crew. All right. So before we bring them on, we also have directly after this.
I mean, what can you say here? This is Brohammer, man. John Reed, Brohammer. He. You know what? I will tell you one thing. I will say real fast about him. He's a profound thinker, and I'm
That's why. Look at that look on his face. Of course, he's a profound thinker. Look, he's thinking in that picture.
Gigantic philosophical insight in that.
Pondering the meaning of life.
Martin Schneider, who I honestly have known Martin for, it must be almost 20 years now, if not more. And one thing Martin has is this enormous depth when it comes to the industry. And Dave Smith, not only is he a co-host of The Crunch, he's an analyst I met through you, Brent, originally. And the thing that always impresses me about him is he goes broad and he goes deep simultaneously when he writes his stuff. I always read his stuff when I see it, and he's in a sort of CRM and adjacent space, really. And he gets it all. It's like one of these people who can cross through, or kind of go through all the different areas in the world of collaboration, customer facing, enterprise. I mean, he's a thinker, man. This is a really great. I mean, I love this trio. I'll tell you that right now.
All right. So why don't we go ahead and let everybody say hello before we get deep. All right. All right. Who should we bring? Are we going to do it the same way we did last time? All right. Yeah. So we went from new to.
No, we went from
old. Not old. From
most frequently.
I don't want to say old. That'd be really bad.
Been on this. On the panel
in previous years, yes.
John. So, for example, John Tashik last year, we've done 4 of these. He's been on all 4. He went first.
Yes. All right. So, with that in mind, because we do have a number of multiple CRM year thingies. Yeah. So let's pick. All right. We'll say hello to Vijay, because Vijay's been on here at least 2 times, maybe even more. Hey, Vijay.
Hey, man.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for having me. My name is Vijay Sundaram. I'm part of the executive team at Zoho. Zoho is a provider of business software across very broad range of business categories. Our flagship product is in the CX space. It's Zoho CRM. I'm delighted to be here. I've known these folks for a long time. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed your introduction, and the thing I learned from that is the next time around, I need to have a more profound photograph. So that refer to me that way.
We'll just make sure you're thinking deeply, and we'll have somebody capture that moment, and then we'll have
all right.
Okay, so we got another, I think at least 2 times. Yeah, I think she has been with us. Yes, it's Tara, as I like to call her, Tara DeWow.
Yeah. Let's proliferate that nickname.
So tell us a little bit about you.
Absolutely. I'm so psyched to be here. My name is Tara DeZao. I lead product marketing for Pega's Customer Decision Hub. And I love geeking out on CX and talking about customers all day long.
And the Rams, right? You got to mention that part, right?
I'm a new Rams fan, and I'm so excited.
There it is. Now we can move on.
I need to hear about this off camera, how you became a Rams fan.
You were there, actually.
Lobbying.
Yes.
It was that when you became a Rams fan?
He was looking for a new team.
And you actually became the Rams fan, not just
I was there for. All right. I think we're now whole. I'm looking in the green room. I think we're all whole. So we'll get to that in a minute. All right. Another at least 2-timer.
That's not the way to put it. Another 2-timer.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I'll go with that.
In the context of what we do.
Another returnee.
Mr. John Bruno.
Hey, everyone. John Bruno here, Vice President of Strategy at Pros. And actually, I don't know if everyone knows this, but Paul, you mentioned the background over at Forrester Research, leading all the B2B sales and commerce coverage. But before that, I actually was at Pega Systems myself for a couple of years.
Oh, wow.
So it's a nice little segue If you don't know Pros has been one of the pioneers in the AI space, specifically around helping companies power commerce, how they price, how they sell, how they recommend products. Really, if you've got a decision that needs optimizing in and around how you transact with your customers, that's who we are.
Nice. I didn't know that. I didn't know you were at Pega before. All right.
Yeah,
That's really cool.
I go back in the Wayback Machine.
We'll have to catch up offline.
You should.
All right.
You actually should.
You should definitely do that, but we got to do this first. So, all right. We have 2 newbies, I believe. Yes. Yeah, we have 2 newbies.
Is Dave new?
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
I forgot about. How did I forget about? All right. Before we get to the newbies.
Yeah.
How could I forget about the Captain America himself, David Singer? How's he doing, man?
Proof. There is the proof. That's the real shield.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on. Brent, I was gonna call you out. It's like, come on, man.
I got excited with making Tara a Rams fan, and I kind of just lost my head a little bit. Sorry.
Right. You lost focus. So, Dave,
folks, great to be here. I'm Dave Singer. I lead global strategy for Verint's CX automation platform. Verint's been around for a long time. If you knew us from back, you probably know Verint as that call recording and WFM company. But we're way more than that now. We've really, pivoted over the last 5 years to CX automation, which is really using AI to power CX workflows, across all parts of the contact center of the enterprise. So really focused on self-service, agent assistance, and everything related to driving customer experience. So happy to be here, excited to be part of the conversation. Thanks for having me back, guys.
Awesome. All right. Now we got the 2 newbies. Which should we pick first?
How about Maksim Ovsyannikov?
Oh, thank God you did that.
That's why I said it.
I did not want to. And he is back. Maksim, thanks for joining us, and thanks for being one of the new folks to be on this panel.
Yeah, sorry about that. We were in the green room for a minute, and then my entire internet went out in the house. And I'm like, how does that happen exactly at 9 a.m. Pacific time when I have to be on this exact meeting and don't have a good cell reception to rejoin? Thanks for having me. Super happy to be here.
We just thought you were since you're in the kitchen there, you just want to get a little snack before you got on. Yeah.
I did that too.
Tell people a little bit about yourself.
Maksim Ovsyannikov with SugarCRM. Sugar offers a CRM for mid-market industries like manufacturing, wholesalers, distributors. We simply help sellers sell, and that's our focus. So I'm super happy to be here with my colleagues to talk about what CRM is in 2026.
Wow, he's even right on point with the title. All right. That means we only have one person left, another newbie. And once again, I will let the venerable Paul Greenberg bring her on.
Shalini Mitha. This is
Hello.
One of my rock star favorite people in the industry.
You know what?
Shalini?
Do my introduction to everything, please.
Right.
And I don't feel like a newbie because I feel like we've been working together for a long time, but probably a newbie for this panel. But so I'm Shalini Mitha, and I lead product marketing at Netomi. And what Netomi does is bring mission critical AI discipline to customer service and support across Fortune 500 enterprises. And I'm just truly excited to be with you guys. Every conversation is always a joy and fun, and looking forward to this panel.
Let's just hope you feel that same way after this panel. We'll
take care of that.
We'll shoot for that. All right. So as we started yesterday, and I think pretty much all the 4 years we've done this, and we really thank you guys for kind of playing along with us too, because a lot of times, you expect to get questions ahead of time so you can prepare and do all that thing. We just do things completely different than that. And what we are really interested in is just having a really organic conversation about where you guys see the year ahead when it comes to CRM. And so that's kind of really the only scripted question. So with that said, why don't each of you take a minute or two to answer that question, and we'll see where it goes. So Paul, where do we want to start?
Let's start with Shalini.
There it is.
All right. So we're seeing a lot of, especially with Fortune 500 enterprises, is brand safety. And how can you protect your brand? What are the guardrails? Ensuring that every, for us, right, agentic AI, it's about how are we helping customers, but how can we have the traceability, transparency, and observability of how an AI agent is answering a question? What knowledge sources is it using? Is it staying within the topic guardrails? And so we really feel like brand safety, governance, guardrails is important today, but it's going to be the same going into 2026, and even more important as AI and automation is kind of rolled out across different organizations, and especially in customer service and support.
Okay.
Who wants to go next? Who wants to be brave to go next?
I'll go next since I was last to join.
It's all yours.
Look, in order for us to answer the question where CRM will be in the next year, we have to sort of appreciate the fact that CRM has become super complex set of applications. A CRM is many, many, many use cases for many, many different people. And it's no wonder that Shalini starts by saying, CRM is potentially about brand safety, and that's what will happen next year, right? That's not what we were saying about CRM several decades ago. So I think, in order for us to really make sure that we deliver on what we want CRM to actually be in the next year, we have to look back a little bit and ask ourselves, has CRM done for us what its original promise has always been? And if you look 25-ish years ago, right, the original promise of Siebel, the original promise of Salesforce, my alma mater, also was that we need to help sellers sell. And if you look at it, what are the several pillars of helping sellers sell? One, let's bring sellers good leads. So I hope that in the next year, CRM can finally deliver on bringing good leads to sellers. Two, let's help them identify risks and opportunities. So I hope that the CRM, with the help of AI, generative AI, agentic AI, can help sellers identify risks and opportunities. Three, let's help them be as prepared as they can walking into any type of interaction that they have. And four, let's help their managers and the leaders in the sales organization coach them along the path of the seller journey so that they can be as effective as they can. So those things, I hope we can finally deliver. And I would also say that we can finally deliver on those things because we could never do that without the power of AI that we have in our hands now that we never had before.
Okay. All right.
I'll go next. Yeah, I'm going to jump on the agentic train here and, talk about how I think that we're in the point of the AI hype cycle where we're going to see the gap between the brands that came into their AI plans with a clear holistic strategy and the brands that are using AI as point solutions within their tech stacks. And those folks are going to be behind. I don't know if anyone else saw this stat from Gartner, but by 2027, over 40% of agentic AI projects are going to be canceled due to things like having, no clear strategy, going for the hype, unproven ROI, bad governance. So we're really going to see the folks who are picking the tools that are holistic, have structured workflows behind their AI, kind of take off from the pack.
Okay.
I think I need to jump in next because there's a lot of things that I want to tie together, and I feel like if it goes any further, it's just going to get harder to tie it together. So when I think about 2026, I think about 2026 actually through the lens of trust. We heard about kind of the brand promise and protecting the brand, but I think as you look forward, right, we lived in a very volatile 2025, tariffs, global trade policy changes, the geopolitical landscape being, really, really, really volatile. And so where Pros lives really at the heart of the transaction. So, and helping sellers sell, recommend the right products, the right prices, companies now need to address for all the things they put in the back burner in 2025, right? They ate a lot of the cost increases and they can't do that going forward. And so when you look at 2026, it's, are you putting credible information in front of your customers? How are you engaging with them? Obviously, I think AI plays a critical role in trust, but it can either be advantageous or work against you, right? We've all seen different AI solutions. We've all had positive and negative experiences. So delivering those the right way, delivering the right expectations, providing levels of transparency and consistency with your customer base, even in the face of having to make difficult decisions. I think the companies that earn the trust of their customers are going to be the ones that come out on top in 2026.
Okay.
All right, I'll jump in next because I finally spoke up fast enough to get in there. I was trying to think of a way to be counter market and say, I don't think agentic AI is going to impact anything, but I couldn't do it, right? But I think what's going to happen this year is the pivot from the focus on AI to the focus on data, right? There's been all the studies from MIT, from Gartner, from Salesforce, from, you name it, about the number of AI projects that have failed, or the number of AI projects that stall in the lab or in POC and never make it into production. And that's because you don't think AI can be effective without the right data to act on. And that falls into governance, it falls into trust, it falls into everything the other panelists have talked about. So I think over this year, there's so much more data, both unstructured around interactions, structured around the transactions and the demographics. And I think the AI is both going to allow organizations, CRM, to take advantage of that data better, and that data will allow AI to perform better. So I think focusing more on the data for the reasons people have talked about will make this the year organizations start to really derive value from AI versus experimentation.
I think that leaves just one person there, Vijay.
Yeah, they say the donkey comes last. Just don't believe them. Okay. We've been doing this CRM for decades now, and some interesting things have been evolving over this period in time, and it stems from fundamentally different types of business processes that are business models, I should say, not even processes. Let me give you a couple of examples. Think of something like food distribution. So you have now food distribution where you have companies like an Uber Eats across the world, multiple parts of the world. They're dealing with probably kitchens, restaurants, customers, multiple entities, but delivering a product which is a high volume product, low error type of delivery, but across all of these entities that are not even sometimes part of the same organization. So what is that business system that connects these different types of entities? And that's, in a sense, there's no other business system that can claim the right to do this other than the CRM today. It can't be an ERP. And so that's where we see things going. And to do that, it takes a different mindset on how CRM itself is evolving, because now you're dealing with multiple parties, different organizations, a business process that is definitely not linear in the sense that outcomes don't lead to outcomes. It's a set of interrelated things. Mm-hmm. So another example, which is not in the delivery business, is construction management. Again, you deal with multiple entities, legal entities, compliance agencies, all of that stuff. And it's not a linear process necessarily. So building this, so where we see an evolution of the CRM is one that encompasses all these parties, but it changes the way it does certain things. It has to be deep in customization. It has to be able to enable very complex orchestration. And last but not least, get user acceptance, because these are users who are not used to CRMs. They're not sales marketing kind of customer service people who are typically used to this. These are lawyers. These are governmental agencies. They don't want to learn another system. So how do you do this with a light touch and with a focus on value? So that's where we see this going, delivering new business models.
Okay, so given everything you all just said, in combination with I don't know if you know Shashi Belamkanda, but he's an industry analyst of real significance, and he's also the host of Talking Headless. Given what he said, which is, if you see it, CRM is the heart of business in the age of AI, unifying everything in business, ? And taking also what happened yesterday in conversation which was there was two fairly significant threads that emerged. One was the change of the disappearance of UI, basically, and things becoming conversational, much more so. And secondly, at the same time, for any businesses to succeed, and this came from both the investors panel and the vendors panel yesterday, the fundamentals are still the fundamentals, no matter how you cut it, right? And no matter how much AI is, a dominant conversational topic, business topic, and financial, something with enormous financial impact. So my question to you guys is, there's a lot there, okay? Because all of you have indicated there's a change one way or the other. Changes are coming, although you each gave kind of a different take on it. But there's some at the heart of things. We just, on the one hand, identified a fundamental change, which is the disappearance of UI. And then we've identified a fundamental, let's call it consistent, but possibly evolved, stick to the fundamentals, because CRM is still CRM, meaning it's customer facing, it's not ERP. And in fact, Vinny Merchandani just wrote a piece this morning on how ERP itself is starting to disappear, right, as ERP, which is another side of this. So let's say things are, on the one hand, murkier than ever, and on the other hand, becoming clearer than ever. So my question is, how do you reconcile all of that? And that is a hell of a lot to reconcile. Does it lead to what Shashi said?
Yeah, I love this get back to the fundamentals, because I think whether you're in sales, whether you're in marketing, we're all doing this in service of the customer. And yet we forget that we are customers, right? So like when you're having a terrible experience, you know what that feels like. So you should be working from the ground up to build tech stacks that deal with those issues. I'm one of those folks, and I'm like a unicorn in my organization, so they're probably going to get mad at me for saying this. But I don't think that the disappearance of the UI is going to happen as quickly and as smoothly as people think, because I think that, as a traditional marketer in the past, I like a UI. The culture change into those who are ahead of the pack in AI, and those are still catching up, is really huge. And I think you're going to see that with agentic. When there's no UI, people are going to need to get comfortable with that. It's not going to be this quick change that everyone's thinking that it's going to be.
Yeah. Like Tara, I think it's bifurcated, right? I think specialists will always need UI, because you want to do really specific things really deeply in a very structured and understood way. Where we talk about the invisible UI, is like saying conversation is the UI of the future. That opens it up to all the people who aren't specialists. So I think it's not going to disappear for the people who are currently specialists and experts, but it makes CRM and it makes the data more accessible to a broader set of both customers and and sellers or marketers. So I think it's almost a democratization, but you're right. I don't think the traditional UIs will go away for the right users.
David, do you think that like these organizations are going to trust their users to have that autonomy? I don't. I'm inside a marketing organization. People keep their brands real tight-fisted,
So I love this conversation. I think that we should not be saying that there will be no UI, right? Because that's kind of like saying one day we're not going to breathe air, we're going to breathe, something else. Instead, what we should be saying is that AI will have human in the loop, and that human will need UI. And we should also be marrying it with the concept of us wanting for decades sell value propositions associated with our products, which always meant outcomes, right? And we could never do that until we have agentic, until we have AI, and until we can allow a user to, as an example, instead of build a report, ask an analytics question, use a snippet that AI provides, and then save it to a UI that they can refer to later, right? So so it's sort of like a handshake of UI with AI, where AI is a enormous enabler to a value that UI has always wanted to offer and never could, because of what you guys are saying, because the user never knew how to build a report in my example, because they had to reach out to an admin who always had a long queue, who finally we can shake hands between AI and UI, and it's not that AI is entirely instead of UI.
And if I can just jump in super quickly, I agree entirely with Tara in terms of what kind of timeline we're looking at in terms of this UI shift. I'm just going to bring it all the way back to what it was, 2006 when the iPhone came out, right? The iPhone wasn't
7.
Was it 7?
Yeah.
Announced in 6, came out in 7. But the iPhone wasn't entirely new, right? Steve Jobs was on stage and he said, it's a phone, it's an iPod, it's a mobile web browser. All of those things had existed before. But to me, the most fundamental change was the user experience, right? The touch, the multi-touch gestures, right? And if you think about just being a human being and behavioral interactions, that's what we do. Before we can speak, we touch. The next thing we do is speak. But the learning curve for touch was so much faster than what this learning curve for language is going to look like. And I think we're often talking about agentic AI and CRM through the lens of the applications that have historically existed: sales, marketing, service. I actually don't think we're going to see the explosion of agentic AI and these kind of no UI experiences until these agentic solutions kind of act more like an ETL than anything else, where they're retrieving data from other systems, bringing that context together. And I think it's fundamentally going to break down the paradigm of what users use what technology, because it's going to become more seamless across different personas, different functions, better context of information, and that context gets translated into the needs of whoever's asking the question. But that's going to take some time. That's why we're not going to see it right away in 2026, but why I think the potential is just absolutely enormous.
Yeah, John, I agree with that. I think part of it is oh, sorry, to me too. Is just the vehicle of getting the information. If you're, for example, you see some a sweater you like, you take a picture, you put it in Google and images, and you find it, and then you want to buy it. It's just easier if you could buy it right there and then versus having to go to the site, add it to the cart, right? So I think how we're going to interact with AI will be different. It may not be in the brand's website or in their chat, right? It could actually happen in ChatGPT search or Google search, right? And I think we want to remove the friction. I want something and I want it now, and I don't want to have to go 5 steps to get it. And I think that's where AI can kind of simplify the process, right? And so the UI will be different, but maybe not invisible at that point.
Yeah, you have to, if you haven't seen it yet, you have to see what Walmart did this past week. Yes. Because if you look at different organizations, some are revolting against these shopping agents saying they can't browse, I won't allow it. Walmart said, you know what? We're definitely going to allow it. But what we're going to do is we're going to provide explicit instructions for how that agent needs to behave with our technology. And so I think, as you start to see more organizations that have really strategic ways of thinking about interacting with AI, even when it's not their AI, those are the companies that are going to be poised to be the winners.
Exactly.
It's interesting that we're all here speculating on an aspect of how things will go, and that's why we're here, right? So because it's all opinions. And one way to look at this is to think of what will AI wind up reducing choice or adding choice, right? Which technologies tend to be more successful? So if you believe that it is in the business of adding choice, which means it allows more people to participate, then all of these mechanisms might exist. Somebody will prefer to have that UI-based thing, and then somebody will prefer to have that faceless type of interface because that's what works for them. And guess what? They'll all work within the same system because those are just multiple ways of engaging with a platform or a system. So maybe that's a safer way to look at it, is to see if it preserves options and choices rather than constrains them from where they are today, because behaviors are hard to change.
I'll tell you guys one story that will really fit well here. So for example, a lot of our customers at SugarCRM are mid-market manufacturers, right? And if I have 80% of my roadmap focused on agentic AI right now, what I wanted to do is go to my number one customer segment, which is mid-market manufacturer, and ask them, are you going to adopt this, this type of use case? Is this of interest to you? And I was a little bit afraid because in SaaS and technology, when you go to a mid-market manufacturer and ask them a question, are you going to adopt this latest and greatest, the cutting edge that not everybody adopted yet? You sort of have some anxiety because there's a 50% chance that they will say no, right? At least a 50% chance. And we were amazed with what we heard. Here's the summary of what we heard. We, the mid-market manufacturers, missed out on the last 2 decades of technology adoption. And this is exactly what will help us catch up. We don't want UI, we want AI.
One last thing before we move on to the next thing related to this, and this is not, I'm just making a comment on what I've heard and what I've thought for a long time too. Look, what drives customers more than anything else is convenience, right? Period. Not delight. It's none of that. It's convenience. Make it easy for me and I'll stick with you for a while. Give me what I need. Make it easy for me. I'll be there. Right. And the last thing and it goes right to what you said, Vijay, it's more choice or less choice. Well, which is more convenient for the customer, right?
Yes.
Whatever it is, that's the one it is.
Yes.
Right. So it's hard, obviously, and that's what you guys solve, which is how you deal with millions of people or how you deal with very large organizations or whatever. But, the theme that runs right through the middle of everything you guys just said was convenience. And I'll just leave it there because that's my preach. I preach it, right? So I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I've been thinking over the last couple of days too. There's a lot of talk about getting back to or trying to solve the problems that really haven't been solved through all the different technological kind of evolutions we've been to when it comes to CRM. I think Maksim kind of started us on that path when he said, we just want to make sure we're able to deliver the stuff that we've been trying to deliver for the last couple of decades. Getting salespeople to use this stuff. I mean, we all know that they would rather basically jump off a tall building than input data into CRM at this point. So I think whether it's a new UI or an old UI or something else, it's about whatever you, when I say you, I'm talking about collective industry you, whatever you give us or put in front of us, just make sure it does what we really want it to do. I mean, because we're seeing a lot of people get excited about AI because it can do some pretty tremendous things and things that people didn't know it could do. But I think most people, particularly business folks, wanted to do stuff that they needed to do as opposed to wanting to do things that are incredible. And I think that's why I think I'm probably in the camp that says UI is not going to go away as soon as a lot of people think, unless you can show this new AI does take care of this old problem. And users have been kind of let down over the decades because of all the, I don't want to say happy talk about the new tech, but the happy disconnected talk about, it's great, but I wanted to do this. I know it can do that. Can it do this?
I think that's where
you could have all the tech in the world. You could have all the tech in the world, all the greatest, most advanced AI, but if your data layer is messed up, it doesn't matter, right? So have these organizations adopted best practice for data governance before they try to throw AI on top of it? Sorry, David, I know I cut you off there.
You said almost exactly what I was going to say. It's all about the data, right? Nobody wants, sales folks don't want to use it because I already had that conversation. I've sent this email. Why should I enter it again? Why should I create this record? Why should I? With the ability for AI to mine conversations and mine activities and mine everything out there, it means we can auto-curate to some extent and increasingly more over time that data. Let's take away the non-value add action of entering data and allow the UX and the conversation to do the value add work of extracting value from the data. So when you get this focus on getting the data curated and governed correctly, then everything else becomes a lot easier. And you take away all this work that people had to do to create the data that didn't want to. And now I believe there's more likelihood they'll adopt different interface paradigms because you've taken away work they didn't want and made it easier to get to where they need to be. So it's, in my mind, all of this stuff starts with data.
Yeah.
By the way, whenever Captain America starts pounding the fist, you know there's something. And by the way, Vijay, you should tell Sandy Lowe to take a picture, a screenshot of you, because you had this really pensive look on your face. It'd be perfect. Maksim, I'm sorry I cut you off. What were you going to say?
No, I was going to say, and those paradigms that David is talking about are very meaningful. And I just have to add again, they have to be super focused on the outcomes. So what are the outcomes that we want to sell? So if we want the seller to have the most productive day possible, right? So build the type of model that has the right context in it, that delivers the right information and the right response, which is the interface that you're talking about, right? Because that's all you can do in that chat interface, right? But it needs to have the right context that's laser focused on the precision, in this case, of an intended outcome of having the most productive day for a seller as one use case. And then list the other things, right, that you want to improve for whoever your user is that you're focusing on. And that's how you'll make progress with AI, because everybody keeps quoting that MIT study that says that overwhelming majority of AI implementations in the enterprise don't work. And the reason that they don't work is because there's simple ChatGPT implementations that, allow people to ask questions and summarize documents, right? They don't deliver outcomes, business outcomes, with the right context and the right precision. And I think, like, when we were building our roadmap, super focused on AI at Sugar, that was the goal. Is to not deliver an interface that simply helps you, as an example, summarize your customer account so that you can prepare for a meeting, right? That's not the outcome that we want. We want you to have a good meeting. We don't want to give you a summary that you can read for the meeting. We want you to have a good meeting. So, for example, in this case, we built a guide that literally tells you what you should do in the meeting and how you should do it and what materials you should use. And that's more focused on the outcomes than simply saying, summarize an account, give me some conversational experience.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think whatever the interface is, every decision, every response has to be auditable, explainable, and compliant. And that is really the foundation of our platform. But that's like, governance is key. And it goes back to brand safety, right? It's like just answering a question, especially with CRM data being what it is across especially large enterprise companies where you have, large global travel companies where they have different policies that maybe have changed, like same day cancellation was different during COVID now, but they forget to update those sources, right? So it's important that the AI is catching all that and then providing recommendations, right? So it's learning. So for us, that's key. The governance, the brand safety. I know I started out that way. I feel like, for AI to be successful, this has to be the backbone and foundation of any agentic platform.
On the topic of success, so Tara's brought up the Gartner study, Maxim's brought up the MIT one, and is this a little chicken little, sky is falling? For me, like, is the fact that a lot of AI initiatives or projects failing, is that a bad thing? And I think we're living through something entirely different right now. Now, it's easy for, I think, a lot of us coming from the software vendor side of things to say, no, because, we have all this vigor and resourcing behind it. But I think a lot of what you're seeing in those is more citizen developers, right? Just an example, I've got a gentleman on my team, probably one of the best competitive intelligence guys imaginable, and he built an entire agentic solution that our internal salespeople could query. It's basically, his name's Davin. It's pretty much Davin 24/7. And some of those things are going to be smash successes like that is, but others aren't. And I think that's okay. It's the same thing when we bring our productized solutions to market. I think the number one thing that we see is people are like, this is really cool, but can it do this, and this? And you realize that we don't know what we don't know. And I think if we lean into that, number of projects, initiatives, quote unquote failing, we're actually just going to have faster and faster iteration cycles.
I think it's an okay thing if, orgs don't make critical business decisions on the promise of the AI that they're implementing, because we're seeing a lot of companies do like mass layoffs instead of trying to upskill because they're anticipating that they're going to have all of these returns based on their AI solutions. And if they didn't do the due diligence of having a more holistic strategy and they're just trying to solve individual problems, I think we're going to see a reckoning with that.
For sure.
But I do, the fail fast and move forward. I think for those folks that are testing and experimenting, that's a good thing to fail sometimes, but not when the business is making decisions on it.
I agree. The failing fast is good, but you have to stop failing at some point. Something has to succeed.
Thank you.
Right? And the way you get there is, as Maksim said, focus on the outcome of what you need, not the tech or the experiment. Right? The outcome isn't a great summary. The outcome is a great meeting. Right? The outcome, if in an interaction, the outcome isn't, a better knowledge base. The outcome is a shorter call with a happier customer. So I think we've gone through a lot of AI experimentation cycle, and people start to understand what it can do, which will shift the focus from the tech to the outcome, which will guide faster iteration, I believe, in the right direction. So I agree with what you're saying, and Maksim, I really like what you said about the outcome focus. I think it's how you shift from experimentation to success.
Yeah, I think the unique thing about agentic AI is it's so easy to see when it fails. So I think the user recognition of the failure is unique in that the layperson can see the failure much more quickly than they would otherwise be able to see in conventional software.
So, Vijay, you wanted to go?
Yeah, I was just saying that everyone cites the MIT study, because it's a bit contrarian. It's still early game. It's still early days, right? And what we are looking at we've been thinking about AI in the same way we've thought about process automation. Can you do convenient things for me? Can you do an agent that does X for me? What's to say that we don't think of it another way? So think of our business of selling, which is what CRM enables. So to be successful here, we have to do a number of things, right? We've got to find out how to segment opportunities, bring the right customer fit, have the right marketing, messaging, communication, build sales skills, all of the things that we all know. So there's no reason to think that AI can't help us in some of those areas, and it already is. Think of just one of those, sales skills. AI can be used in training salespeople. It can understand, go through a set of sales calls, figure out what's going on, and tell you these are the kinds of calls that worked. These didn't work. It can help you explore new segments by finding lookalikes. Here are some customers that are on your demand list, but here's some customers that you've already been successful where you have a good fit. So let me do that matching for you. So that is not an automation anymore. It is actually the ability to segment and provide a customer fit better, which is usually a human capability. So there are ways it's actually helping out. So to jump at this early and say, oh, it's about summarizing information, that's a bit talking about 2022.
So let's take this a different direction. It's kind of riffing off of what Shalini said, and also a conversation that actually occurred yesterday too, which was one of the things that, for example, I noticed by using all of the conversational AIs is that it's lazy. It's by default lazy, right? It literally will look for a generic answer before it looks for a specific one. And it's annoying, by the way, and incredibly annoying.
But who designed it? Humans who are also lazy.
And that's right.
It's designed for
present company.
Yeah. And you know what? When you're me, trying to get it to design Home Assistant code, YAML code, I can live with it, and then it'll take a while, and I'll argue with it and yell at it because, as Rob Pinkerton says, it's one of the great things about Gen AI is you can yell at it, right? But in a business, that doesn't fly. I mean, think of a pharmaceutical business, which one I mentioned yesterday. Pharmaceutical business where the thing kind of generically says, well, if you have this disease, one of these drugs might work here. You try this one, right? And then you know how that goes, right? So the question becomes then, one way or the other, you're going to violate. You could be violating regulatory. Your governance is going to be terrible. There's a lot of problems with the things that create constraints when you have a lazy AI that you're communicating with. So in the world of the business, how do you deal with that actually? Because, and we had a large number of variant of answers to that one. But I'm really curious as to your take on it too, because to me that it's a fundamental issue. It's not even a good issue to maybe resolve, which is of course very generic answer. It's a fundamental issue that has to be resolved. And I'm not talking about like hallucinations here. I'm not talking about the problem with AI. It's when AI is doing what it does, it's lazy. So how do you deal with that?
I don't know if I would potentially use slightly different words.
That's okay.
Paul, like lazy. I've never heard the word lazy when it comes to this, but what we did observe a lot in our testing is that unless you give AI context, it will give you a rather generic answer that doesn't lead to a precise outcome that you have defined. So if that's the definition of AI laziness, I love it. Let's coin it, and let's say that when AI gives you a generic answer that is not precise in its outcome, then it's called AI laziness instead of AI, right? We can do that. I think that's really cool. Let's write a blog.
Call it Al.
There you go. And I think that you have to give it context, and I think what vendors should do is not simply say, let's give it context. I think vendors should be extremely opinionated about what kind of context you want your customers to give your AI that you're delivering to them so that it can deliver on these precise use cases. So for example, at Sugar, right, when we're putting this tool in the hands of our customers, we're saying, put your sales methodology in, put your sales enablement stuff in, put your call recordings in, right? Because that is the context that's going to make the outcomes here more precise than generic and hopefully remove some of that AL from AI.
I'd like to second what Maksim says, because I think that's exactly our experience too. When you bring in a lot of business context into the customer experience, in our case, we're doing it outside of the CRM as well, like financial applications, their financial history, their employee history, and so on, and you bring it together, then in that context, you not only do you have AI being more sensible and less lazy, as Maksim says, but you also have more efficient AI because you can have a small model because you're not trying to write a speech in the style of Shakespeare. You're trying to figure out something about this customer given their behavior, given their invoice history, and given the relationships we had with them over time. So I completely agree that actually is what makes it more useful and worthwhile, is when you bring in the business context and you own that customer data already.
Yeah. And I think part of it goes back to, you have to have transparency into how your AI is responding, observability, testing before you go live, giving suggestions to our customers on where they could improve because they might have conflicting policies that are, how is this being used across all your channels. So like what we do for our customers is all of that, right? It's just giving them that visibility, that transparency, being able to observe exactly what how your AI agent is responding, what the prompt is, what the instructions are. I mean, that's critical. If you don't have that foundation, that's when the laziness comes in, the hallucinations come in, and then it goes back to what is the data that it's using. And, John and Maksim, to your point, right? It's like, are you giving it the right context? And so you have to have a solution that's going to actually help to improve that, right? That this is the kind of parameters you need. So it's super important that is built in. Like otherwise, yes, AI will not be delivering the answers that it should be. And when you're talking about large Fortune 500 companies, that's not non-negotiable, right? Your insurance, you're giving out wrong coverage information. You're in banking, you're giving out investment advice. These are just non-negotiable items when you're talking to large enterprises.
Well, I think that goes back to the outcomes thing too, right? So when you're shopping for tech, what are you expecting it to do? You know what I mean? If you're expecting an agent to be able to, come up with a wonderful solution to your problem, and you put in just a regular chatbot, that's not going to get the job done, right? And I think it's on buyers really to look under the hood and see what they're buying to make sure that it's not like an agent washing situation, or, that those tools have the power to deliver the outcome that they want to have.
Yeah. And I agree. And I think Vijay said something, so short comment, please. Vijay, you said something really important, right? You bring in context that's not just in CRM, right? This is going to require the breaking down of like monolithic applications or monolithic data silos, right? There's a ton of information and context and data and intelligence that's around the enterprise and in the public domain. And we have to have the AI set up to take advantage of that in the correct, governed, guardrailed way, right? And we need to be engineering the prompts very, very carefully so that when a customer asks a question, it knows, okay, based on this question, I need to go here, 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 but I'm not allowed to touch this, and this is probably inaccurate, right? So I think that understanding where context comes from and the multiple systems required becomes increasingly important.
All right, we're rounding the bend here. We're almost at the top of the hour. So it's my turn to ask the obligatory bubble question, since I posed it to the folks yesterday. So everybody has been looking at NVIDIA as kind of the poster child for the health of AI. And so every couple of, well, the last several quarters, it's like CNBC has NVIDIA about to announce, it's like, the fate of the world is, it's kind of felt like that. And they've always come through with these blowout numbers. And then the day after, everybody kind of breathes a sigh of relief and we're all able to sleep normally again. And then the next quarter comes up and we go through this whole same thing. But the last, I guess it was a couple of weeks ago, NVIDIA had blowout earnings, but the blow up, what am I saying? The AI bubble kind of, it felt like NVIDIA didn't do what it usually does, which is salve our hertz. It actually felt like people were like, nah, we're still worried about this bubble thing. So it could be a quick yes or no answer, but I wouldn't mind you taking a little bit of time. If you feel like 2026 is the year where there may be some kind of bubblish activity, how does that impact the way your companies move forward around AI? And how do you think it'll impact your customers wanting to do anything with AI?
I'll start. AI is definitely not a bubble. And AI is simply the only way for us to deliver business outcomes and enterprise software, which has always been meant to be a business productivity software. And we should embrace this, and we should continue to shake hands with our customers and educate them on why we feel that. And we should continue to put use cases in their hands and our solutions that help them achieve that. One example of it not being a bubble is we're literally running out of all kinds of resources, right, to support it. We have infrastructure resources that we're running out of. We have energy resources that we're running out of to support it. There's a lot of interest. There's a huge opportunity and incredible future. And if you are a software vendor who hasn't made AI the center of your roadmap, then you are in a bubble.
I'm going to jump in and say, I agree, kind of. So I think that from a capability standpoint, we are absolutely not in a bubble. I think from a business and financial standpoint, there is a bit of a bubble. I think the bit of a bubble is limited to a handful of companies. Folks a lot smarter than me when it comes time to finances are doing some really interesting things and some really interesting financial engineering and how partnerships exist, where money's exchanging hands. I think that is padding valuations. I don't think those padded valuations take away from the real promise of AI. So even if there is a bit of a reckoning and we come back down to earth, with some of the large hardware providers, software providers, platform providers, I still think the appetite and desire and demand for AI and agentic capabilities is going to persist. I don't think we're going to see any pullback on that front.
Okay. I can go next. I think you're really dealing with two bubbles. Is it a technology bubble or is it a financial bubble? I think we clearly know that there's a big financial bubble. I don't think anybody here on this panel has not seen the various kind of diagrams of the cross linkages between NVIDIA and OpenAI and Oracle and Microsoft and SoftBank and whoever else, and all the money is transferring back and forth. That's what constitutes the bubble. And if you see a reaction in the financial markets, it's because this thing is being uncovered. Everybody's feeding somebody else to buy from them. But putting that aside and looking at the core technology, I would agree with the panel here. That's whether is the technology a bubble? Clearly doesn't appear to be the case. There's technology here that's very useful. A lot of us are talking about it. A lot of us are incorporating it into our products and figuring out ways how to deliver value to our customers. So I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
I just saw Drew McKenzie say that the bubble won't affect market players evenly. And so my answer is actually based on that. And because at Pega, we have been in this AI business for 30 years, essentially, we've built for the long haul. And the clients that buy our products, specifically Customer Decision Hub, understand the value of creating customer lifetime value versus really short-term metrics that I think a lot of folks acquire their AI tools for. So I think the brands that invest for the long haul and the vendors that have spent time on this are not going to be affected by the bubble.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think when you look at mission critical CX customer support type use cases, like for example, flight disruption, all of a sudden, 20,000 people are stranded. You can only scale as much. You can only scale so much with human agents, and this is where AI automation can help. And again, make sure it's governed. But I think we are seeing among our customers that these are use cases that are really penetrated into their systems now, and they need it to scale and scale compliantly, scale safely. So I think in those use cases, whether it be insurance or financial or, global airlines, like they have some ability to need to expand beyond their own human agents. And this is where AI is successful in their business.
And, unsurprisingly, I agree with the panel. But I really think I agree with the point. I think the bubble is largely on the financial side. AI is the tech that's going to drive forward. It's the only way to success for most organizations. But there is, sort of a bubble in valuation around AI tech versus AI outcome, right? I think, that's where we're starting to see, well, just investing in the technology and the hardware isn't the way forward. You need to look at companies that have AI for the long haul. Like Verint's been doing AI for over 10 years. And it got really hypey a couple of years ago when ChatGPT launched, but we're still building AI for the long haul, focused on delivering, business value outcomes to our customers. And I think there's going to start to be that shift of valuation from tech to outcome delivery. And that's where we're going to start to see the real growth and traction with AI.
I think that's everyone, right? I can't believe it's already at the top of the hour. It's actually 2 minutes past. This is great. Nonstop, great information, great insights. Thanks again for doing this. This is
Killer.
It was awesome. But I think me and Paul only spoke for about a combined 2 minutes, which is always a good sign that things are going well. So
yeah, unless we're the only two people on the show.
Yeah, that's fine. Not going well at all, actually. But no, we love to thank everybody. Captain America, Shalini, Tara the Ram, Bruno, Maksim. Oh, I don't want to butcher your name, so I don't want to try that. Vijay, what is it, like the third year in a row or something like that? Thanks for joining us. And Paul, any last words before we let these?
And John and Dave, I didn't.
I
if I heard them. You may have covered them, but
I said Captain America. I did.
Oh, okay.
I think I did miss John Bruno.
Yeah.
You got me.
All right.
Oh, I did. Okay.
You got me.
Just double checking.
You can say it again if you want to.
Once again, I got excited about saying Tara the Ram.
Yeah. As soon as Brent says the word Ram, everything else is either forgotten in front of it and doesn't remember to continue the conversation after it.
It is bad.
That's how.
Anyway, what final thoughts before we let these folks go?
No, I mean, this is again, it's fascinating. I'm because each of you represents obviously a certain company, and on the one hand, you have certain things you have to do. On the other hand, you each have such a unique and interesting both point POV and at the same time presentation, the way you present. I mean, you guys are really great. And weirdly, again, theoretically, you're all competing vendors. There was a chemistry to the panel too, right? Which is really, really something. I loved it.
I'm just gonna go ahead and also say, Paul, that I watched the yesterday's one, as you know. This one was way better. I think those guys should watch this one for sure.
Well, actually, you know, oddly, I know at least one who is going to watch it.
You can let your AI train on this one.
Yeah, there you go.
There's a lot of competing points of view on this panel. That's something I think we can all agree with.
Yeah.
I like that though. I really liked how you guys were able to, in certain areas, agree to disagree, but not be disagreeable about it. That's great. And I think that comes across for everybody watching. And thanks again for everybody leaving comments too. There's some really good comments. And Shashi was going to work.
Yeah.
Again, Shashi is the host of Talking Headless, a PPN production.
Nice promo. All right, folks. Thanks again. Have a great holiday season. We definitely will be talking to all you guys. And actually, before we let you go, you have to do something, Venerable One.
You mean the IRL something?
That would be that something.
Yes, that would do that something. So one of the things we're expecting is to see all of you at IRL 2026 on March 11th to March 12th, 2026 in Atlanta at Atlantic Tech Village in Buckhead. That, of course, as you may or may not know, is the conference that Brent and I run. That is basically a community. It's been a community gathering. I'll put it this way. There's never been Alan Berkson, who's one of the people on here. It was enough. The conference was so good, we even got a chance to celebrate his birthday at it. All right, so
it was a big birthday too, by the way.
Yeah, it was. He got a tower of donuts, literally. Well, we had a donuts and bourbon pairing.
It wasn't leaning. So
think of this. Where else would you get a donuts and bourbon pairing? That, by the way, which was driven by 5 different AIs coming up with the answers to the pairing. So
he isn't joking about that either.
No, I am not. Okay, so but there's also a lot of value to it. Anyway, you guys, we do expect to see you. We do expect to see you.
Check your email next week for
you'll see it.
You'll see it. All right, guys. Thanks to David Singer. Thanks to Shalini Mitha. Did I get it close?
Yes.
Here we go again. Brent trying to say everyone's name.
No, not everyone's best. Tara, John, Maxine, Vijay, thank you all. Have a great holiday weekend. We will definitely be in touch soon.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you,
thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
It was awesome.
Yeah, it really was. I think John it's so awesome that John wants to hang around. All right, before we bring the crew in, because they are already there.
Okay.
Anything you want to say before we?
No, I mean, look, it really was a great panel. It really just started to like roll at a certain point and kept rolling. And to your point, we kind of pushed things here and there, but we didn't have to say much. If I'm agreeing with one sentiment, it's the tech is here to stay. The bubble financially still a bubble. That's where I go, right? So I won't say any more than that. But I'm just coming down on the side there. So, but I loved it, and and I'm expecting the panel coming up. We can continue the conversation.
You mean these guys?
Yes, I mean those 3 stars. Well, we already introduced them at the beginning.
Yeah, that's right. I'm just looking at such nice smiles on.
I know.
On Martin and then we got the Brohammer like trying to stare down somebody.
John's working through an existential philosophical question that I think he's at that point when that picture came up, he was just about 2 minutes from solving it.
Well, why don't we see if he wants to solve it now? There is the Brohammer.
There's the man.
Hey, what's going on? How we doing?
Did you solve the question? That's all we want to know.
Oh man, it's a rabbit hole. You know that.
Yeah, I do.
Hey, Brent, is now a good time for me to work in a Go Pats thing, or shall I wait?
You might want to wait about an hour.
Okay, cool. All right, cool. I figured.
All right,
All right, cool.
Mr.
Hey,
Dave
Dave.
Smith.
What's up,
How-
folks? So Brett, you have an easier time pronouncing names this segment. David reporting for duty, sir.
I just don't like when I butcher people's names, man. 'Cause I feel bad about it. So it's like I let him. He loves doing the challenge of doing people's names.
I do.
Let me.
I
Here's another one for you. Martin Schneider. How about that?
Whoa, you got three
Yeah,
for
yeah.
three today, Brett. Hey,
Hey,
Martin.
Martin.
How you doing,
How
sir?
you doing? Good. You know, another easy name for you because
I know.
both of you have probably said
That's
it.
how you were all chosen, actually.
Are you still in Vegas?
We gave
Yes.
Brent 20 names, and the 3 he could pronounce we brought up.
Anything going on in Vegas at reInvent that's like interesting or?
I've been just paying attention to the rodeo event that's been going on all week. That's proven the doing bullfighting inside the Wynn Ballroom instead
no,
of
that does
an
sound
Amazon
kinda-
reInvent.
Oh, my God.
That
more
kind of sounds interesting, actually. All right, we'll talk about that later. But now we got to talk about I don't know how much you caught of the first one for today. I don't know if you caught anything from yesterday. But we had a lot of really interesting discussion on the vendor panel from yesterday, the investor panel, the kind of the analysts that were analyzing after each of those panels, and then what we just sat through. Any thoughts on anything you heard, if you heard anything at all from the last day and a half?
So let's see. I'm a little bit grouchy, so that I don't know if that's a good or bad sign.
Wait a minute. Just a little? That's a good sign if it's just a little.
But I want to say I just saw today's, and I want to preface this by saying I think you had a assemblage of really great vendors that are actually, they all deliver really great products. So I want to make that really clear, and also it's very refreshing to hear them talk, in such diplomatic ways against folks they compete against. And so like, that's a huge win for everyone in the industry because we're trying to solve problems together. So kudos to all that. And that's kind of my big disclaimer, because some of the things I disagree with are not really about these vendors in particular, but about the AI discourse in general. And my big problem here is that this all roads lead back to AI. AI is at the center of everything. I'm really troubled by that as a framing, especially for the future of CRM. I want to hear companies say, how do I make my customers' experience better? How do I serve customers better? How do I manage supply chain volatility? How do I tackle this from an end-to-end perspective and really deliver on the promise? And by the way, AI might factor into that in some way. And it might be any form of AI, but I kind of object to the idea that agentic AI specifically is going to solve all of these problems. And just as an example, is anyone else worried about what the airline industry is going to do with this technology? The point is, when you put this technology on broken processes and on a bad competitive environment, the experience sucks. When I hear from my mom, she's like, I hate AI. And why does she hate AI? It's not so much that AI totally sucks. It's that the companies that are imposing these solutions on customers are not designing it in such a way that makes their experience better. When my mom tells me I love AI, that's when I can see that you've actually really made some progress with his technology in terms of how you design processes to serve customers better. So that's one of my really big issues here. And just to kind of give an example of this, like I think that a lot of these companies that you had in the panel, they do amazing things right now without inserting agentic AI into everything, because I've studied their customers and modern software is pretty amazing. And like, so for example, like look at Starbucks in an airport. So like I used to have such a trouble getting like good coffee in an airport because the lines would be like 30 people long, right? And now I got my app. It tells me where the store is. I can find it. I can order in advance. And granted, there's 30 people on the line that haven't figured that out yet. But I walk up and grab my mobile order and go. There's no AI in any of that. And it's pretty cool. Now, the distance between that and where some of their competitors are is really shocking, and that has nothing to do with AI whatsoever. Now, okay, they could add agentic, and then I could try to say on the plane, oh, can you get this for me and have it ahead of time? Maybe that will add a little bit small value, but also might get my order wrong, so it's complicated. But the point being, like like there's a whole lot that goes into it. And what I like most about AI is how it's forcing a broader conversation. But the conversation should be, how do we improve our culture, data, and processes? Guess what? If you get your data platform right, you can do all kinds of things better analytics, better decision making, better customer service, everything. AI might factor into that and it might not. And that's the conversation that I would want to have around customer experience.
Yeah.
And I'll shut up.
John
it's interesting.
John from zero to serious real quick. But
Hey, Dave, man, you've seen me before. You know how I roll.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, zero to serious. But I actually like what he's saying, and I agree. I think if we're looking at defining CRM, especially in 2026, I think we have to sort of admit that the era of sort of the passive database is over, right? And so it's not about storing customer data; it's about orchestrating the workflow that surrounds it. And to what John was saying, for that to happen, you need what I would call, I guess, like a universal context layer, right? That's getting that data part, right? You know, that's what John was talking about. Right. And so I think there's probably two massive shifts, you know, happening to sort of prove this. And the first thing we're looking at, if you check out the SMB space, like you have a Zoho, you have a Zoom. I just wrote the other day about, you know, how they acquired Bonsai, and we see that the CRM is sort of being swallowed whole by what I would call workflow automation. And again, to John's point, for that to be right, the data has to be right. And so for the modern business, the value isn't in the record keeping, it's in automating that administrative fabric, you know, the proposals, right? The contracts, the payments, you know, seamlessly within their communication platform. And then if you look at the enterprise, you know, we're hitting the wall, man, like an absolute wall, you know, where we have all these AI agents and they're failing to deliver because they lack context. And so what I'm seeing, or I'm predicting for next year, for 2026 and beyond, is that the most critical piece won't be the CRM itself, but this universal context layer that sits above it.
Yeah, I think those are all absolutely excellent points. Data is critical, right? And figuring that out. But I liken it to like where we are right now is very much like where we were the first couple of years of mobile CRM, right? Where, you know, again, context, but also form factor and use case were always kind of amorphous and not really considered. And it was like, well, let's just shrink Siebel onto a phone. And that's insane, right? And I think right now, the idea of like, if you can do agentic X, do it, is a bad idea as well. So really working from, you know, desired outcomes, you know, business use cases, and then like, can the data foundation support that? And working backwards that way makes a lot more sense. And one of the great things is that the vendors themselves don't even have to do anything, because there are enough, what I would say, agentic tools, whether that's from your core CRM vendor, from your provider. And again, that context layer that you're talking about can be created without even really changing much of your CRM, because Dave, to your point, that like passive database concept is dead, but also still kind of critical to be the foundation. So it's like clean that up and then build around it. Whether you're utilizing your CRM vendor or not, you can do a lot of really cool things. Like for me, focusing on growth and that type of technology, it's like, what does your revenue intelligence layer look like? What did it look like a year ago versus 2 years ago versus what's it going to look like in 2 years? And that's going to be really different because of the precision data that we can get to, the contextual understanding that we never had, right? And then agentic tools that come from all over that are going to be managed and orchestrated in a much more refined way than we even do today. So I think we're kind of getting it, but I hope we learn from our mistakes of the past with things like mobile and even SaaS, right? Because what did we do with SaaS? We created SaaS silos, we created SaaS spaghetti. We did all the same problems and we're doing it again, right? Like how many, if I just go into the city, into San Francisco, I see so many billboards for things like, this is your OAuth for MCP, this is your layer for MCP, this type of thing. So it's like we're proliferating again, right? And that's the problem is proliferation of platforms, recapitulation of silos. And we're seeing that in this AI world. I hope people don't buy into it too much, because you do have to have kind of like your control tower, but it's like, make a smart decision, get precision data with contextual intelligence, and then you'll be in the right way. But there's too many of the same mistakes being made, I think.
So I have a question first for John and then for everybody. My question for John is, you actually think Starbucks is good coffee?
Well, but only in an airport context, right? Where you're, the goal is to get something efficiently and you have a tight connection. Like, around the home front, I would never go to Starbucks. I got 5 gourmet coffee shops to choose from. And, but I do make, that's an interesting point though, because I make sacrifices on customer experience to get that gourmet coffee. And the really interesting thing around Starbucks, using that as an example, is that even though the app and the loyalty experience is really good, if you look up Starbucks challenges online, you'll see a ton of them, everything from labor relations to supply chain volatility to that. They have a ton of issues in front of them. And so I think that's what's really humbling about this, is that underneath all this happy talk around AI, we have a serious problem, and we can encapsulate that in one simple sentence: where's my stuff? Or where's my effing stuff? So I just recently ordered a Blu-ray from Best Buy. They handed it off logistically to DoorDash for delivery automatically by their AI logistics system that choose the delivery partner. DoorDash is a terrible delivery partner, by the way. But the whole experience exposed the fact that no one knew where my stuff was. And all the disconnected labor entities trying to deal with that and trying to reckon with the technology. I'm sorry, but putting agentic technology into that mix doesn't help. It doesn't help. You have to solve your data problem. If you can't say to someone, where's my stuff, with accuracy in a definitive way, then you can't put an agentic layer on top of it and expect anything good to happen. It just won't. And so, but what I do think I really love about this technology is that it forces these conversations to happen, because these conversations, I think Dave and Martin would agree, are super overdue. And now companies are at least motivated to have them and really look at these problems. And I don't know, man, maybe someday when you ask where your stuff is, people will actually know.
Yeah, well, that's an interesting point, because when you talk about the where's my stuff, and I'll tie it back in maybe even to Starbucks for a second, but what's really cool is like agentic AI can ask 10,000 questions in the amount of time a human can ask one.
Right.
But if those 10,000 questions still come back with a question mark, null, 0, then there's a broken process, there's an issue there. So it is good that it is waking us up to what are those issues that we need to identify. The gaps in the customer experience, customer journey, whatever you want to call it, can get exposed much more easily. We used to do these like manual customer journey mapping sessions that took like 2 days and stuff for some of our customers when I was on the vendor side. Now you can almost just do that by like the agent can actually kind of uncover some of that by being like, what doesn't the agent know? Because the agent can ask 10,000 questions to one. Interesting. But to your point, John, like I love the idea you talked about the sacrifice of customer experience. But to Starbucks' point, considering that like what's in the airport versus what's in like a Target versus what's in like a Starbucks store, those used to be 3 separate like entities. So the fact that you can mobile order, like let's give Starbucks some credit for the fact that you can do like their associates, so they don't call them franchisees, but like their associate stores versus like their actual stores. So like the fact you can actually get a mobile order to any Starbucks nowadays, it's a shocking amount of data that needed to be centralized to do that, to understand who you were, because it's not even just where's my stuff, but it's who am I, right? So there's these 2 kind of questions, right? So these are important questions that again come down to these fundamental things that if you can't do that, and whether you're asking 10,000 questions or 1 to get that null, you realize you have an issue. And I think Starbucks is doing a decent job of it.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with what John and Martin said. I think what you guys are sort of talking about is, I guess, outcome certainty in a sense, right? From a CX perspective, so like we got to sort of stop managing these discrete interactions, really focus on outcome certainty, right? You can't have agentic AI resolve a complex wire transfer dispute if it can't read the legacy billing system, right?
Well, even if it is going to be probabilistic versus deterministic, it can do both, even if it's going to augment a human's capability, right? You can leverage it in both situations, to the point where I think Gavin's point that just popped up on, it's going to help B2B salespeople. That's the best thing, right? Like it will do the deterministic stuff easily, but then the probabilistic is where a salesperson needs to make a decision. How do we get decision support, right? And then it can do that because it can collect it. It can ask that 10,000 questions, right? And that's what's the really cool thing, right?
Yeah.
Wow, that was really good.
So I, honest to God, did not think the Starbucks question was going that far. But But
Hey man, I'll get you a fresh
Yeah.
beer afterwards.
no,
You'll like
no,
it.
just
You're
don't ever.
talking to-
I would
I'm
literally rather go to a
anti-Starbucks as
gourmet
anyone else,
coffee
but,
shop
You're
yeah.
talking to the
Or no
broiler,
coffee.
so you gotta.
or no coffee in an airport. So
I'm in the Las Vegas airport like 4 times a month. I mean, I really don't have a choice.
yeah. Right there. Listen,
Yeah, no.
but here's the fundamental though. So throughout the 2 days, actually, we did hear elements of what you guys were saying. We heard a number of people today, obviously talking about outcomes and meaning it. It's not like they were just using the words.
For sure.
Yesterday, there was a conversation, for example, briefly in and around jobs to be done, which is when you're talking about where's my stuff, right? I mean, there's a lot of different elements there where and a big chunk of yesterday was conversation around, look, you got to do the fundamentals no matter what. It doesn't matter whether AI is here or whatever. It makes no difference. You still have to do what you have to do to make this work. And ultimately, it is the outcomes that the customers want from you that you need to provide. And that's that, and the thing what makes it interesting to me, and I want to hear what you guys think here, is I'm guessing that each of you, for example, uses one or the other of the Gen AIs out there to do whatever you use it to do. It could be to shop. It could be just get some quick answer to something. It could be, in my case, I'm using it for home automation and Claude helping write code for me in home automation with, so I can do that. And it wrote a 4,500 line dashboard for me, but it took me 2 weeks to get that thing done right. And lots of
get done right. Very different. 2 minutes to get it done. Right. 2 weeks to get it done. Right.
Yeah, there's lots of back and forth. And the thing that became interesting, though, and it goes to context, is a little further. It actually went to memory at a certain point too, and that actually because Claude's starting to show that. It actually announced that it has memory, and memory obviously takes what we're talking about with AI, especially to your 10,000 questions, Martin. Takes it a long way further.
Be careful,
Sure.
Paul. Memory is not.
I know.
It's not a permanent thing.
I'm there already.
I just wanted to point out to the listeners, not
There's
to you.
persistence versus memory.
Memory is treacherous territory to an extent.
It's different.
You got to be careful.
Actually, I was talking with, I think it was with you, John, on that very issue, or somebody the other day, and I actually went to Claude and said, "Tell me what memory is to you," and it to its credit, it qualified memory versus human, right? It made, and it wasn't wrong what it was saying. All I'm getting at really is having the ability to pick up on prior conversation, which is all it really is. The context. It actually creates a bit more of a continuity and less repetition. And ultimately, we're still looking for convenience here for the customer, right? How does it become convenient to the customer? So my question to you guys is, taking into account everything you said, which I think is 1,000% right, because, and how long have we all said garbage in, garbage out, right? So where with AI evolving that way and still needing fundamental operational stuff like marketing, sales, and service support and operations, how does AI actually play a role directly in CRM itself, as opposed to AI in general with business software? Okay. And I mean, when I'm saying that, I am literally saying, I'm not talking I'm talking about hardcore traditional CRM, meaning marketing, sales, customer service, not even commerce in this case.
Look at pipeline inspection, right? In the sense of, even let's take the most traditional like CRM as it accrues to like management, right? The value of it. It's not even get down to like salespeople yet. Like looking at a pipeline inspection and being able to, and not to harp on this concept, but like ask the 10,000 questions, but constantly to understand like who the heck should I be selling to today, tomorrow? The ability to actually, look at, because again, B2B sales, you're usually selling to the same people all year. You just don't know what they're going to buy and when, and how do you optimize what that basket of goods is. AI can do a good job of understanding that, because again, it can go beyond what humans can comprehend when you have, anywhere from 50 to 400 accounts, whether you're an account executive at a high enterprise level or a CSM trying to just order take renewals to keep your job, right? How do you actually optimize that, right? So that's where AI can come in, right? Because again, coming back to those, like, what are those, like, how do we make the probabilistic more deterministic, right? By looking and asking questions constantly to understand what do people buy, what is seasonality in a B2B heavy machinery standpoint, for example, right? And in manufacturing and other things like that. How do we understand patterns that human beings didn't even know existed, but they can figure that out? I mean, that's the type of thing where I look at, optimization of like a B2B manufacturer's pipeline, so that you're actually selling the most you can, the most profitably, pricing it the best, and reducing the most friction in a way that that we haven't seen since like e-commerce came, right? I think that's just one obvious example, right? You definitely, if you're adding that to your mix, and if you weren't using it before, you're definitely getting benefits, right? I think you can't discount that as just one simple example.
Okay.
So I classify AI like not just agentic, so there's all kinds of machine intelligence and all kinds of stuff, and a lot of that can be pretty potent and already has proven use cases that honestly shouldn't even be debated on the show, because they've already been established in terms of the impact of personalization on e-commerce for sales, for example, is not debatable at this point. It's a statistical reality. Whether I think it's full of crap or not, I can't argue against it. But let me just say a couple quick things. First of all, probabilistic will never get to deterministic in this context. This technology has been around for 20 years. People don't realize that. These are inherent problems with this technology. We could have a longer conversation about that. It's important because it affects use case design. But as far as these three areas are concerned, Paul, what I would say is you can get it right or you can get it wrong. On the wrong side, you can use it to create terrible marketing blog posts that are crap that no one wants to read.
Right.
On the sales side, you can spam me aggressively with so-called hyper-personalized offers that are crap, and I've been getting a ton of those lately. On the service side, you can take away my mom's first level service, so she calls me in frustration because she can't solve her banking problems anymore. So you can do that with AI. You can ruin everything, or you can make it better. And so for example, in sales, you could have much more targeted sales that are much more relevant and appropriate to the prospect. And in service, you could solve a lot of your first level queries, which some smart companies are doing. But instead of firing those people, you find elegant ways of escalating the good stuff to the people that can solve it, and you can do it really well. And that's cool. And I'm good with that. And so in marketing, who wants to write a campaign from scratch? You can spin up campaigns and modify them. So in every area, there's really cool stuff that AI can do, if you start by acknowledging it's good at some stuff and not good at others. And one thing that sucks at is writing blog posts. Let's stop pretending that it's good at that, okay? It's not. It sucks. It's full of techno jargon. No one wants to read it. I remember when a CMO posted his first AI-generated blog post on LinkedIn. I'm so proud of my blog post. I was like, oh my God, that is brutal. That's a brutal read. You do realize we're living in an attention economy, right?
Yeah. Well, there's one of the people who doesn't care whether it's good or bad attention, as long as you pay attention.
Well, it's the good thing is that, to John's point, one of the great things that's going to happen is when we get into kind of like AEO and fully get out of SEO, the slop that gets created by AI will no longer be effective for people to actually find brands, interact with brands. You're going to have much better content. You're actually going to have third-party validated content that the AI engines actually expose you to searchers and things like that. So for B2B, and actually, that's, I mean, I hope that backlash has already begun against the AI slop, because it is what it is. It used to work in the age of, hey, I've got my blog and I make 5 posts a week, and all I really care about is if that little meta layer of my SEO terms are there, and the 400 words of whatever doesn't matter because no one's really reading it. They're actually kind of just using me as the yellow pages. Well, that's dead now in the age of AEO. So so to John's point, I think the backlash against terrible blog posts written by AI is already starting.
And they're all over LinkedIn, right? Yeah. I play a game daily where I'll say find the AI in a LinkedIn post, and it's
I play find the human, and it's hard.
I don't know why it's not just blog posts. It's basically any kind of content there is out there. Videos are just ridiculous at this point. I see so many different. It's like you can see when there's like the meme changes in the videos have sped up so quickly.
Yeah.
Because of all the Sora and all this stuff. So like 2 weeks ago, I was getting all these Sora videos of, I don't even understand. It's not really even funny, but like these ridiculously overweight people having fits at fast food places. And then I started getting these videos about some like big muscle dudes in jail or getting in front of the juror, in front of a judge, and they got these dudes like bolted down to the seats. And when they say you're gonna get 5 life terms, and they all do the same thing. They go like, "You can't hold me." I mean, this is why these people use this stuff, and people like us probably get fed up because as great of things that can be done with this, everybody just resorts to the mean, and it's always dumb stuff.
Yeah, well, it's like when music got digitized, right? And you had like GarageBand and like auto tune and all that. It's like, look, and people thought, oh, this is going to be the death of music, right? Because you could more easily make bad music, but it made great musicians even better, right? Like, you know, it allowed people like Beck to create a whole album by himself. You know what I mean?
But
and
he's
the same
like
idea. It's like, you're going to have to dig through the slop, but there will be gems. And it's the same idea of B2B use cases. Like, you have to avoid the easy buttons and the laziness and the generated slop, because you still need to have a good message. You need to be relevant, contextual, and connect, right? And solve problems for people.
Well, that's why
the
greatest outcome for AI for me has been getting a little bit better filters, because I need better filters than I need more content, especially the stuff that most people seem to be gravitating toward.
You know what the best filter is? Don't use social media. That's the best filter.
Ed Thompson's.
I never see anything. I don't use social media.
Ed Thompson's famous maxim is, if you don't want it to be known, don't write it on the internet.
Man, I really want to hit some of the comments in the chat, but can I just throw one thing in, because I didn't hear it mentioned today, and I think it's significant. I'd love to hear what the rest of you all think about it. One thing I do think is impactful in 2025 in so-called CRM, I definitely agree with a little bit of the diminishment of product categories, and frankly, that can't come soon enough. You referenced Vinny Merchandani's end of ERP post earlier. I'm so sick of quadrants and trapezoids and all of that, like trying to, and I understand why buyers find it helpful to have these reference points, but in general, this category thinking is not helping buyers with the problems they're trying to solve today. But one thing I do think is changing is, even though I really push back on the SaaS is dead thing, SaaS is absolutely not dead. SaaS, as part of a data platform, really imposes a lot of data discipline that I think is really important to the AI that you want to build. But I do think that there's a certain kind of best of breed SaaS that is in a lot of trouble going into 2025. And by that, I mean, I think customers have a real disincentive right now to buy a ton of different software products from a ton of different vendors. And the reason is because it really interferes with these data and AI platform plays. And so I think you are going to see a lot of so-called apps or platform standardization pushes, which has its pros and cons sometimes in terms of the exact application you might want from a particular vendor. But the point is, I think trust is such an issue with data and AI. Customers are going to want to embrace certain vendors that really can deliver for them across a number of processes. And one of the keys there, and I spent a lot of time under the hood on this and I write about it, but I won't go into it today, but things like the A2A protocol are just not very mature right now. And I think agents, we talked about context. Agents are going to have a really hard time sharing context with each other across vendors, and it's going to resemble a lot of traditional integration in terms of the work that it takes to get there. And so standardization on certain vendors, I think, is going to be a factor here. And I think there's going to be a little less, I want to buy the best software from 50 different vendors. There's going to be less of that.
Yeah, what if there's something like go ahead, Dave.
No, I'm saying I agree. I think that's what what I was saying before about this universal context layer.
Yep,
it's going to be so important, because it's going to be more so about, okay, how do we let, from a universal context perspective, systems speak one common language, right? John brought up A2A, there's MCP, right? How do you standardize these handoffs, right? Because without them, all we're going to do is just build faster silos, right? If we're not speaking one common language, just going to build faster silos.
Well,
you are going to have to standardize it, David, but I still think they're going to want to minimize the amount of handoffs they have to make.
Yes.
But you're 100% right about this context layer is going to be incredibly important.
Yeah, and I think so when we get the context layer right, we begin to unlock, I think, the human piece of it, right? Because we haven't talked about the human a lot, but I think the human, what I would call, I guess, more a resolution specialist, where the human agent becomes more of a resolution specialist, right? And if the context layer is right, they can easily do that.
Yep.
Yeah, but who's gonna be responsible for some kind of centralized layer that application managers who have their agents, because we all know they want to own as much of this process as possible, own the way that their agents work with other agents. Where is that good, or is it a completely different entity that sits in between?
Welcome,
hyperscaler. Or
do large
like
enterprises? Yeah, do large enterprises have one integration vendor?
Welcome to the AI vendor wars,
Yeah,
Brent.
but if we're trying to get away,
yeah, but what I mean is it's the same thing with integration. I mean, there's
but are we in danger of having
this? Providers,
are we in danger of then replicating what we're trying to get away from if we kind of fall back on, well, we've always done this? It's hard for me to see vendors that have something, at stake beyond their own
organizational.
Yeah.
It's still the issue of IT versus LOB versus use case, and again the culture / politics of building empires inside organizations, whether that's to circumvent IT or for IT to have some sort of job security, whatever you want to call it. That's one of the reasons why we never really figured it out from, say, like a data integration perspective. It's not just the technology limitations and the tools we use. There is another level to that, and that will need to get figured out, or never will. Right?
What was that?
You're going to have multiple agentic platforms inside large enterprises and even small ones, because they're going to be consumed as services and some are going to be owned, and it's going to be a mix and match of that. Right?
What was that that consortium that had it was around data, and it was SAP and Microsoft? Remember, like, this is like 10, 15 years ago, where they
open
data initiative. That's
the ODI.
I feel like we're going to end up back in that kind of doing that.
Really?
Well, I mean, look, standards are not a bad thing, right?
No, but it's cross. It's not just one company or two companies. This stuff has the potential to go everywhere, and it feels like if it's going to be used at its fullest, it needs to have some of that, because nobody wants to have one thing or one owner doing everything for us. We want to have opportunity to take variety, and this one does this better. Oh, and this one does this better. But how do we get to something where we aren't going to fail like we have in the past?
The short answer is get rid of money. And then actually there's no incentive for that action, and then standards actually work. But that's not going to happen. That's, to be honest, right?
No, I mean, so I guess that's what the model context protocol may have some hope. And I think the purest intentions of any vendor I've seen, we've got to bring up our friend Zoho, because that's probably the purest intention of
but then Zoho owns its whole entire infrastructure, so it doesn't really lend it, which is great. I mean, I love what Zoho's doing.
No, but then you can plug
like I said, there's 4 billboards for
MCP
related vendors in 1 mile on 101 right now. So it's like, again, proliferation is always going to be a problem.
So Brent, you raise a really good important point, because in the short term, what we're ushering in is kind of a vendor wars thing for who controls the platform and the interfaces around that. Ideally, customers would build their own AI using open standards and have an incredible choice. But this is not, unfortunately, a very decentralized technology trend we're dealing with right now. And if you go online and YouTube and look at, like, for example, look at a RAG architecture or look at an agentic context intelligence architecture, these are very complex architectures it takes to get the data into the right place. Most customers are not going to have an appetite for that. And that gets back to the whole MIT study, quote unquote, which, by the way, was not an official MIT study. But anyhow, the point being that it did capture something, though, which is the fact that it's hard for customers to execute on this in a comprehensive way unless they have very deep resources like a Walmart or whatever. And so, Brent, in the near term, I think you are looking at some downsides in terms of having as a customer, maybe a little less of the ability to just freelance and do what you want. But hopefully someday the standards are robust enough that you really can build and do your own thing again. I'm kind of speaking more, you guys wanted to do CRM in 2025. So I'm just kind of telling you, I think that's going to be a trend in 2025, is a little more standardization on vendors and putting your trust in vendors that you know can really handle your data responsibly, which is where the Zohos and others are making their pitch.
We only got 3 weeks to go then.
Yeah, man.
John's, the year thing on John's watch.
Oh, 2026. Are we gonna? Oh, right. Yeah, we are. Oh, right. Yeah, that's a good point, man. I probably should have. Can you guys remind me to advance the clock? Crap. Okay.
What are some things that we didn't hear over the course of the last day that you think are really important, or do you just feel like it's something that you?
I got one, but I'll wait and see what these guys say. David looked like he's about to give us one.
No, I think I sort of talked about it before, and it's not that we haven't heard it, but I think as we're talking about, what does the AI allow you to do, right? We're talking about agentic AI, so it's sort of this orchestration layer that should, in essence, from a CX perspective, free up a human agent to focus on empathy and that real one-on-one customer interaction, right? And so while the AI agent is handling stuff in the background, given that it's has full context and the data is right, how do you free up the human agent to be more empathetic?
That's a great one.
So there's so much focus on all the agentic stuff, we're losing the actual human agents in this all.
So I did a workshop at Martin's excellent CCE event on this topic, on the future of AI skills, and I love this topic, David, and I think it does provoke us to have, I think, overdue conversations on how to be more human in the workplace and how to treat people with more humanity, which is one thing, by the way, I love about hanging out with Paul and Brent, because you guys always create that in your shows. You create like a real human feeling. And I always feel so fortunate to be a part of this type of conversation for that reason. And I think the enterprise is so in need of that. And to me, if you want to take an optimistic view on this technology, it helps us to get there. And I really love that. But organizations need to think about that. And there's a lot of discussions happening right now around, do we need to be hiring different kinds of people? And do we need to be training them differently? And ideally, you free them up from the admin stuff and help them deliver in those ways. Yeah. But if you're going to engage in headcount reduction scenarios and scare the shit out of people and making them feel like they're surveilled all the time, then you're never going to get there. So there's a real fork in the road for organizations around all of this stuff.
That's a ridiculously long URL. I suggest you just go to the
I'm going to write. Can someone put that back up? I want to write that down.
I'm going to take a quick note on
let's
that.
Let's see. AAAAB up.
I saw Friday, so that means Jordan Lake's comment must be in there somewhere. I just have a question for you guys, kind of riffing off of all of this, though. So years ago, Thunderhead had this thing where they used to say, the end campaigns or marketing campaigns are over with, conversations are where it's going to go. If you actually look at sales, we've been talking about outcomes that are highly specific to the individual as well as the company that we're selling to. When we look at customer service, has always been, what people want, even if they're not always getting it, is high touch, individual human interaction where they can actually communicate with an actual person. Now, Thunderhead was kind of premature in what they were saying at the time, but they're not so premature now, right? Meaning it's heading in that direction. At least I think it is. All right. I'm kind of curious. That obviously impacts AI, that impacts CRM, that impacts everything, right? Are we moving to conversations as the primary way a customer communicates with a business? Because it obviously is the way they communicate with each other. But is it the primary way a customer communicates with institutions? Are they conversations? And in fact, we can go back to 2008. The reason that social CRM was even distinct at the time was because there was a conversational element that was being introduced into it, and the customer was trying to take control over the conversation. So given that 2026 is could be we say this every year, but could be a real nodal point or an important year for this. Is that true? Is it going there enough?
I think so.
And what will be the impact of AI on that, or will that mean more human actual? I mean, how's this?
I think
work?
so. I think what we talk about a lot, like Ray, Liz, and I, is that hyper personalization at scale, right? And that's the big thing, right? And what companies like Thunderhead and others were trying to do was trying to get to that, like all the way down to the individual journey understanding. But again, to your point, right? Taking, what do we have in CRM, right? Relational databases that were bad with unstructured data, right? Then we got social stuff that was like conversational and unstructured and semantic and all this stuff, but no way to actually store it and learn from it or do anything with it because the relational databases were still at the heart. So as we break that down and put agents and AI and all this stuff together, we're actually able to do what we were calling like ABX and like whatever B2B, kind of go to market in an actual meaningful way to actually have one-to-one conversations that are highly contextual, to Dave's point, right? And relevant and timely and all those things that we always kind of talked about, but now actually able to do it in ways that are actually kind of exciting because you actually can get to that granularity of conversation that, again, so like what can the AI do, right? It can take that relevant marketing message that maybe started with AI but actually got human massage to become relevant and then become personalized end level, right? To literally every individual. And that can be the actual words, that could be the image, that could be the offer. John Bruno was on here, could talk about the pricing and the discounting and all that. All that stuff can be done and omni-channel delivered at any time in a way that we literally couldn't do 3 years ago, right? So I think, Paul, to your point, that hyper-personalization is the future, and that's what we should be getting at. And that's where, whether you're in sales, whether you're in marketing, anytime, and even customer service and support, that's where we can really leverage AI to be super effective, right? Is to be hyper personal, because again, it's not even, do you know where my stuff is? It's do you know me? Are you acknowledging that I am who I am? Are you acknowledging the issue that I have if it's support? Are you acknowledging that I'm a valued customer, whether I am or not, or at least giving me the right type of engagement that makes me think so and think that you know who I am, what I need, and that you can help me, and do that in a timely manner, right? It's the plumber who called back first usually got the business. Well, how do we take that to the next year? Right?
So Martin, you opened up a big can of worms with 10 minutes left, which really frustrates me because we need an hour on hyper personalization. But and I've written about this enough. I won't go into it now. But
you and I, you should come to our San Diego event in February, and you and I should do a panel on that.
I would love that. But one of my big bones of contention with what you just said is that what a lot of companies do is they want to fantasize that AI is going to tell them exactly what the customer needs, and it's such a mistake because in fact, what this technology should be good for is asking the customer what they need. So don't try to guess intent with
10,000 questions to one.
Use the agentic relationship, which is the way you can now interface with customers in a way that is easier for them to interact with. And Paul, to your point, and then pull that out and figure out what the customer needs. A lot of times it's not an experience at all, despite the bullshit around that. It's just to resolve a problem. So then route it to my preferred channel. Maybe it's a conversation, maybe it's a text message, maybe it's just a refund. Like I think we have to really step back from idealism around this and just say, if we can determine someone's intent better, let's stop trying to predict what everyone's doing and ask them, like, what are you doing? I'll tell you. I'll gladly tell you what I'm doing and what I want if I think you're going to.
Do you want to change the flight, or do you want a refund, or do you want?
Just ask me. Don't fantasize that you know all about me, and quit. And by the way, quit creeping on my data too. Just ask me.
Well, see, that's a key point, because it's also it should be a conversation like you're saying, because how many times do people go? They say they want something, and they think they want this specific thing. But after adding the context of a conversation, they realize, well, maybe I should get this one instead. But they also have to trust the agent that's work on their behalf, as opposed to working on the company's behalf, to say, well, I don't know if agents have to meet sales quotas or not. They might be trying to sell you something you really don't want. So you really, it's a two-way street based on a customer's trust in the kind of information that the agent is going to provide. It's not going to be a one-sided thing where the company needs you to buy this. You need to have a conversation with the agent that allows the customer to feel like, oh, okay, you're going to be a straight shooter with me. You're not going to tell me to buy something because you want me to buy it. yeah, I'm trusting this agent to give me enough information
Yeah.
to make that right call. And
Manage expectations, have
Yeah.
consistency and seamless handoffs. Like that sounds like such simple stuff, and nobody does it well, right? Yeah. even
are
in
they
this
are
new
they
age
just
of
not
AI.
explaining it well in some instances? Like, is some of this AI talk always the messaging around how they're talking about AI? Is it actually blurring up the technology that can actually do what these folks want if you explain it in a way that doesn't feel like it's a general AI conversation? Because I feel there's a lot of that going on too.
Yeah,
I think some of it
too,
is.
what I'm seeing too, and from what everyone's saying, there is we're looking at AI. I think from yesterday's sort of design imperative, and I think there's a new design paradigm shift that has to happen. The design interface from the customer to the agent, the design interface from the agent, what they're looking at, how they're helping the customer. So I think we have to sort of rethink. And I don't know the answer to it, but we need sort of a new design sort of paradigm from a UX perspective, I think.
Yeah, it's like excluded middles, right? Like people are either like finishing this very like last mile little experiential kind of micro process agents, or really thinking about like the big data, like the huge platform and general purpose AI, and then to that kind of like very like, let's really think about these business outcomes. And it kind of it's slightly complex, but people, it's like for some reason that gets lost, right? And because again, like it's okay, well here's this like, it's like one part of the customer experience. Like Microsoft Copilot does a really good like demo around like B2B like heavy machinery like returns and how you that's a pain in the ass process manually, right? Because it's like there's a lot of different parts. You got to ask a ton of questions. You got to look up stuff, product catalog integration, blah 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 blah, right? But when you do it with an agent, it's actually really cool, right? But again, like there's still a ton of missing things in the actual customer experience outside of just like the data lookup, the matching, the product catalog and part identification of like what can be the replacement. And again, that really helps the human, the employee, that to do their job easier. And it might speed that resolution, but there's nothing helping them be a better account manager or a better customer service person, right?
Look,
in that whole equation. It's really cool stuff, but there's still none of that human element we talked about.
When it boils down to it, customer wants what the customer wants, which is, okay, I'm going to UPS. I want to drop my package and leave. I don't really want an experience. The experience is I get to go in and leave as fast as possible.
No experience.
And you know what?
And
UPS's credit at the store level, they're good at that. Right. I walk in, I'm out of this one UPS store. Look, remember in 2019, 2020, I wrote a book called, speaking of hyper-personalization and scale, which by the way, I hate the word hyper-personalization. Personalization is good enough. But it was Commonwealth of Self-Interest is what I called it, right? And the reality is that ultimately I have something I need. I want to go get it. I want to take care of it. Honestly, I don't need to love the company the way I love my wife and my kids. I just need to go and get it or do it. And if you keep serving me in a way that doesn't annoy me and inconvenience me, I'll keep doing it with you, because guess what? It's convenient that I am. 100%. I can. And it's, you know what? I started my career with a maxim that I never gave up, which was, if a customer likes you and continues to like you, they'll continue to do business with you. If they don't, they won't. Right. And that's pretty much it. And I don't think a goddamn thing has changed when it comes to that.
CRM is the idea of scaling service with a smile, right?
Yeah, not at all, which is why I want to close by begging the airlines not to implement agentic AI. Just figure out, and Paul, here's the piece that I would want to add to what you just said. Just figure out how to treat your employees better. If you treat your employees better, everything's going to go so much better for your customers. If your employees hate their jobs, agentic AI can't do shit about that. Just make your jobs better, make your employees feel valued and worthwhile. And then look at technology. And finally, I just wanted to say one thing, because we have a bunch of comments in the chat around this, and you also asked like what was missing from the conversation earlier. The one thing I just want to point out, and this is too deep for 2 minutes, but context isn't everything. Even if you get the context right, don't assume that the AI is perfect and smart. This form of technology is inherently probabilistic. It gets things wrong. It has what you call jagged intelligence, even if you feed it the right data. This is so important to understand because it affects use case design. It means you need evaluation frameworks. It means you need explainability. You need rollback procedures, all of that. And then on top of that, you don't get rid of all your deterministic workflows, which is the BS that we've been hearing all year from the SaaS is dead crowd this year. You keep those where they're useful and they're boilerplate, especially when compliance comes into question. So it's about combining the probabilistic and the deterministic, not getting rid of deterministic systems and rethinking processes with all these new building blocks in mind. But going back to Paul's thing, which is it's all about the customer, man. Do right by the customer, and everything flows from there. And then I won't get these angry phone calls from my mom, and she'll be, I love the AI. It helped me so much. I don't need your help, John. You can go back to sleep, and I'll get more sleep, and everything.
And then you can buy her a I Love AI T-shirt.
But I heard this really cool one about like a self-correcting hearing aid that would like self-correct for my mom, so like it would adjust to every situation. Who doesn't want stuff like that? We all want it. We just want it to work.
Yeah.
I still think you should get her an I Love AI T-shirt.
I think I will, man. I think I will. She's got like 10 vendor mugs and like 20 pairs of vendor socks. So I'm running.
That's all your swag goes.
240 cups.
She's got some Constellation gear she really likes.
Get her one of those jackets, man.
Jacket.
Jacket. Come on,
all right, guys.
It's harder to get than a PGA yellow jacket.
Wow. All right. Anybody have any last parting thoughts before we end this?
You guys.
This is fun, guys.
Understand the human in the loop, and it's never going away, at least not totally. And keep the customer in mind. To John's point, I think is a great one.
Yep, and
isn't that
AI is more than just agents right now?
Isn't it kind of sad that we have to remind people of that?
To be prescriptive, if not predictive. So
it feels kind of sad that we have to remind or make a statement about treating the customers better, but I guess we do at this point.
Well, Brian, I was at an HR conference a few years ago where a guy got up and says, "We need to bring the human back and human resource." I'm like, they never left, buddy. It's like, what are you talking about?
Thank God, at least he said human resources, not human capital management.
Yeah.
I hated that era. I hated that era. Oh my God, HCM.
HCM. That was when they called marketing revenue performance management.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Brohammer, are you doing a show later today, Brohammer, or?
No, this was my special for today. But I will definitely be doing a holiday show, so stay tuned on Friday afternoon.
Is the Cowboy going to be part of this?
Oh yeah, Brian and I will have a holiday special coming up, and love to have y'all join us. And by the way, Shashi, I already follow your feed, but yeah, everyone follows Shashi's feed because Shashi's been great in the comments, sorry we laughed at your URL, but we really do love your content. So.
We like it,
Well, that's why.
But Shashi knows what year it is, and that's the good thing.
Yeah, and I don't, right? So
taking shots on the way out the door.
24 still too. Don't get me wrong.
All right, the venerable one. Any last words before we end this?
No, again, great. What can I tell you? I mean, this is like a trio that this is something we might be doing just sitting at a bar somewhere too, the three of us.
Yeah, right.
The five of us.
Like we have many times, right?
Right. So I'm cool. Right. This was great.
All right. So on behalf of Dave Smith, aka DJ Wiz.
Yes, sir.
Martin, what do you still do the acts? Do you play still or
every day?
Every day. All right. So we got a DJ, we got a lead guitarist, Brohammer.
I write poetry.
All right. We got the Walt Whitman of the CRM industry.
Yeah, for Brent, I must say
that one was taken already.
Most good analysts I know have some sort of creative outlet. Like there's always something that they do.
I don't write poetry to my clients. I'll say that.
I don't think they've ever seen that.
Yeah, all my reports are actually in iambic pentameter, but no one have to actually parse it properly to realize that it's all a bunch of sonnets just over.
His short reports are haiku.
Oh, by the way,
haiku, right?
Paul, you have to do that one last thing. I almost forgot.
Again?
IRL?
for these,
IRL.
you haven't done for
well,
these
we
guys.
know they're coming. We know all three of you are going to be there.
Roll call.
It's as
Who's
simple as
coming to
that.
IRL?
IRL
I missed
2026,
last year,
March
but I'm gonna do
11th
this
and
year.
12th.
I'm coming this year. I'm doing it.
You
this
have
you go.
to.
I have to.
We save the date invite. We say this every week. It's going out next week, but we said that every
It's
week.
got to
for
go
the
out
last
next
5.
week.
No, it's going to go out before the year end, we hope.
Hey, can I just
let's
say
say
one
that.
quick thing on that?
Yeah.
Like, we're all going, so that wasn't for us in the audience. If you're on the fence about going to the show, go to the show.
This is the only way. Yeah,
this
this
is
only one way to get there.
This is an awesome show, and if you want to be a part of these conversations, not just in the chat, but like asking the questions, being on the panels. You never know, these guys will pull you onto a panel. It's a blast. You're gonna love it. You got to go.
If you want to go, because it's invite only and there's a cap on the invite. So if you're interested, send me an email at paul-greenberg3@the56group.com. Okay, if you can remember that.
Oh, it's
so paul-greenberg3@the56group.com and just say IRL 2026 and I'll
My God,
email you back and get some details.
that's almost as long as Shashi's URL there.
No, if they don't want to put the effort in to remember, then we won't invite them. How's that?
Wow. Kind of ended with a little bit of roughness there, but okay.
Wow. Right. Tough love. Tough love,
All right.
man.
All right, folks. We will see you. Well, we'll be back with the players next week.
Yes.
I don't know where these other dudes are going to be, but we'll be back here next week. Thanks a lot, everybody.
Right. Happy holidays.
See you guys. See you later.
Bye, all.